The American Civil War, a brutal conflict from 1861 to 1865, pitted brother against brother and tore the nation apart. 11 southern states seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. Their primary grievance was the preservation of slavery, which they saw as integral to their way of life and economic prosperity. The Union, under President Abraham Lincoln, fought to preserve the nation and abolish slavery. The war was a culmination of decades of growing tension over slavery. The issue of slavery's expansion into newly acquired territories further inflamed passions on both sides. The Missouri Compromise of 1820 and the Compromise of 1850 attempted to address the issue but ultimately failed to quell the rising tide of sectionalism. The 1860 election of Abraham Lincoln, a staunch opponent of slavery's expansion, proved to be the final straw for many Southerners. The first shots of the Civil War were fired at Fort Sumter in Charleston, South Carolina on April 12, 1861. The Confederacy's attack on the Union fort marked the beginning of a bloody conflict that would claim the lives of over 600,000 Americans. The war would rage for 4 long years, testing the will and resolve of both North and South. The Civil War remains a pivotal event in American history. It was a defining moment that reshaped the nation's political, social, and economic landscape. The war's legacy continues to shape the American identity and influence contemporary discourse on race, equality, and the meaning of freedom. At the heart of the Civil War was the deeply contentious issue of slavery. From the very founding of the United States, slavery had been a source of moral and political debate. The Southern economy, largely agrarian, relied heavily on slave labor for the production of cash crops like cotton and tobacco. Southern slaveholders argued that slavery was a necessary institution, essential to their economic well-being and way of life. They further contended that the institution of slavery was protected by the Constitution, which they believed upheld the sovereignty of individual states to determine their own laws regarding slavery. This belief in states' rights became a cornerstone of the Southern argument for secession. In contrast, abolitionists in the North condemned slavery as a moral abomination. They argued that it violated the fundamental principles of human equality and freedom upon which the nation was founded. The abolitionist movement gained momentum in the decades leading up to the Civil War, fueled by powerful speeches, writings, and the harrowing tales of escaped slaves on the Underground Railroad. Abolitionists like Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, and William Lloyd Garrison became leading voices in the fight against slavery. Their efforts helped to galvanize public opinion in the North and put increasing pressure on the South to address the issue of slavery. The moral outrage over slavery, combined with the political and economic tensions it created, set the stage for the nation's descent into civil war. As the United States expanded westward, the issue of slavery's expansion into new territories became increasingly contentious. The Missouri Compromise of 1820 attempted to maintain a balance between slave and free states, but it proved to be a temporary solution. The Mexican-American War, from 1846 to 1848, further exacerbated tensions, as the acquisition of vast new territories reignited the debate over slavery's expansion. The Compromise of 1850, brokered by Henry Clay and Daniel Webster, aimed to once again quell the sectional strife. It admitted California as a free state but also strengthened the Fugitive Slave Act, requiring Northerners to assist in the capture and return of escaped slaves. The compromise, however, only served to delay the inevitable conflict. The Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, which allowed for popular sovereignty to decide the issue of slavery in new territories, further inflamed tensions. The act led to violent clashes between pro-slavery and anti-slavery settlers in Kansas, earning the territory the grim moniker of Bleeding Kansas. The Dred Scott Supreme Court decision of 1857, which ruled that slaves were not citizens and had no standing to sue in federal court, further fueled sectional tensions. These events pushed the North and South further apart, deepening the divide over slavery and setting the stage for the tumultuous election of 1860. The election of Abraham Lincoln, who campaigned on a platform of preventing slavery's expansion, proved to be the breaking point for many Southern states. In the wake of Lincoln's election, 11 Southern states, South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina, seceded from the Union. They formed the Confederate States of America, electing Jefferson Davis as their president. The Confederacy's cornerstone belief was the preservation of states' rights, particularly the right to maintain slavery. The Southern states argued that the federal government had overstepped its bounds and infringed upon their sovereignty. They believed that secession was their only recourse to protect their way of life and economic interests, which they saw as inextricably linked to slavery. The Confederacy's formation was a direct challenge to the authority of the United States government. It represented a fundamental rejection of the principles of unity and indivisibility upon which the nation was founded. The secession of the Southern states marked the beginning of a tumultuous period in American history, one that would be defined by the bloody conflict of the Civil War and the enduring legacy of slavery. Section 5. Lincoln's Call, Answering the Call to Preserve the Union. Abraham Lincoln, in his inaugural address on March 4, 1861, appealed for the preservation of the Union. He declared secession illegal and vowed to uphold the federal government's authority. Lincoln's primary goal at the outset of the war was to preserve the Union, not necessarily to abolish slavery. However, he recognized that the issue of slavery was inextricably linked to the conflict. Lincoln believed that the nation could not endure half slave and half free. He argued that the United States, founded on the principles of liberty and equality, could not continue to exist with the institution of slavery intact. As the war progressed, Lincoln increasingly framed the conflict as a moral crusade against slavery. In 1863, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring that all slaves in Confederate-held territory were to be freed. The Emancipation Proclamation was a watershed moment in American history. It effectively transformed the Civil War from a struggle to preserve the Union into a fight for the liberation of enslaved people. Section 6. Battlefields of Freedom, Turning Points of a Nation Forged in War. The Civil War was fought on numerous battlefields across the nation, each engagement leaving an indelible mark on the course of the conflict. The Battle of Antietam, fought in Maryland in September 1862, proved to be a pivotal turning point. It was the bloodiest single-day battle in American history, with over 22,000 casualties. While tactically a draw, Antietam was a strategic victory for the Union. It halted the Confederate advance into the North and provided Lincoln the opportunity to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. The Battle of Gettysburg, fought in Pennsylvania in July 1863, marked another turning point in the war. The three-day battle, which resulted in over 50,000 casualties, is considered the bloodiest battle ever fought on American soil. The Union victory at Gettysburg effectively crippled the Confederacy's ability to wage an offensive war. The Siege of Vicksburg, which ended on July 4, 1863, with a Union victory, gave the North control of the Mississippi River, effectively splitting the Confederacy in two. These battles, along with numerous others, shaped the course of the Civil War, leading to the eventual defeat of the Confederacy and the preservation of the Union. Section 7. Leaders and Legends, the Faces of a Nation Tested by War. The Civil War produced a cast of remarkable leaders, both military and civilian, whose actions and decisions shaped the course of the conflict and left an enduring legacy on American history. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, guided the nation through its darkest hour, providing unwavering leadership and a steadfast commitment to the preservation of the Union. Ulysses S. Grant, the Union's top general, proved to be a brilliant military strategist, leading the North to victory over the Confederacy. William Tecumseh Sherman, another prominent Union general, gained notoriety for his March to the Sea, a daring military campaign that crippled the Confederacy's infrastructure and morale. On the Confederate side, Jefferson Davis, the President of the Confederate States of America, faced the daunting task of leading a fledgling nation through a tumultuous period. Robert E. Lee, the Confederacy's most renowned general, earned widespread respect for his military acumen and tactical brilliance, even in defeat. Stonewall Jackson, a Confederate general known for his steadfast defense at the First Battle of Bull Run, became a legendary figure in the South. These leaders, along with countless others who served on both sides of the conflict, left an indelible mark on American history, their actions and decisions shaping the course of the Civil War and its enduring legacy. Section 8. A Nation Reforged, the Legacy of the Civil War and Reconstruction. The Civil War's end in 1865 marked the beginning of a new chapter in American history, Reconstruction. This period from 1865 to 1877 was a time of immense social, political, and economic upheaval as the nation grappled with the legacy of slavery and the reintegration of the defeated South. Reconstruction aimed to rebuild the war-torn South and integrate formerly enslaved people into society as citizens with full rights. The period saw the passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution, abolishing slavery, guaranteeing equal protection under the law, and granting African American men the right to vote. Reconstruction also witnessed the establishment of freedmen's schools, the rise of black political participation, and efforts to redistribute land to former slaves. However, Reconstruction faced significant challenges. White Southerners, resentful of federal intervention and the changing social order, resisted Reconstruction efforts through violence, intimidation, and the rise of white supremacist groups like the Ku Klux Klan. The federal government's commitment to Reconstruction waned over time, and by 1877, Reconstruction had largely ended, leaving many of its goals unfulfilled. Section 9. Echoes of the Conflict: The Civil War's Enduring Impact on America. The Civil War, though fought over a century and a half ago, continues to cast a long shadow over American society. It remains a pivotal event in American history, shaping the nation's identity and influencing contemporary discourse on race, equality, and the meaning of freedom. The war's legacy is visible in the ongoing debates over Confederate monuments, the enduring socio-economic disparities between the North and South, and the struggle for racial justice. The Civil War serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of democracy and the importance of preserving the ideals of liberty and equality. It highlights the dangers of extremism, the importance of dialogue and compromise, and the enduring power of hope in the face of adversity. The lessons of the Civil War continue to resonate today, reminding us of the importance of confronting injustice, promoting equality, and striving to create a more perfect union.